Good morning students, myself Dr. Kamalkant Joshi, and here I am discussing about the land resource. Land resource, there are various resources on earth and land is one of them. So land, it indicates the lithosphere. Lithosphere means the solid part of this earth's crust is known as a lithosphere, and this lithosphere is known as a land, and the topmost layer of this land is a soil. So in this topic we will discuss on land resource as well as the major important issue like the soil conservation, soil degradation method, soil conservation, soil degradation methods, soil conservation method, and their degradation issues. In this lecture we will discuss on land resource as well as the important component of this land is soil. So we will cover like the different issues which are responsible for the soil degradation as well as how to conserve our soil or the land resource. So let's start this topic. Actually, land is a solid part of this earth. This solid part of this earth is also known as the lithosphere, and the lithosphere is constructed with three different layers. The inner part of this earth is known as a core, the middle part of this earth is known as a mantle, and the topmost layer of this lithosphere is known as a crust part. So these three layers is construct our lithosphere, and these lithosphere, the composite word is known as a land. In this slide, in second picture, here you can see the land is the solid part of this earth, and the topmost layer of this land is known as a soil. Soil is a very important component of this land. Without soil, this land is known as a barren land. Same like a cake here. You can see this cake is generally constructed with this bread material. So this one is the solid part of this cake. It is known as the bread. And the topmost layer, this one is very much valuable part of this cake. The value of cake is generally consist with this material. So this one is functioning just like as a soil. If you remove this soil, if you remove this topmost layer of this cake, so this bread part is it has no value. So similarly is happening on this land. If we remove the topmost layer of this land, means if we remove the soil from the lands, soil become barren and they have no value. So these are the relation between the land and soil. Now in this next slide, here we will discuss on the soil formation. Generally, soil formation have you have already studies in your previous classes that this one is the weathering process. Soil formation is the first one process known as the weathering process. Weathering process is a generally common phenomena which indicates like the soil formation. Actually, here we will discuss on the two different methods. Here we will discuss on two different methods. Now in this slide we will discuss on the soil formation. So here in this slide you can see there are the two different methods which indicate the soil formation. First one is the weathering process, and second one is known a pedogenesis process. The weathering process, it is a general process which indicates like the weathering of rocks. By the natural conditions or the different natural conditions, they weather the huge rocks, and these rocks convert into a fine particle which is known as a soil. So in this picture slide you can see here, so there are some natural condition. First is indicating like this one is a rock, and these climatic conditions, they are they have started the weathering conditions. Now this rocks, huge rocks is converting into different small particles. Again the same natural conditions, they are again converting the huge rocks into small fine particles, and again the process is simultaneously going on and convert into this one final picture, which indicating the topmost layer is, which indicating the last one picture is indicating the complete formation of soil. Here you can see it indicating like the different zones of soil. Last one layer, C horizon is indicating like the unweathered rocks, B horizon is indicating the partially weathered rocks, A is indicating the presence of root and the indicating the presence of air, water and minerals here also, and the topmost layer, this one is known as the humus, which indicates the rich amount of minerals here. So this one is process known as the weathering process, where the huge rocks they convert into the fine particles of soils. Next one procedure, the process of soil formation is known as the pedogenesis. The pedogenesis process, which indicates like the increment of nutrients, like the increment of nutrients in the soil is known as the pedogenesis process. You can understand is like that. Suppose a huge rocks is a composition of different minerals, and these minerals break down and convert into the soil particles. So the minerals involved in the soil particles. Now these minerals they be absorbed by the plants, or sometimes they decay by the different processes. Now if the same process is happening, so the soil become barren, but it never happened because the soil maintain their minerals and nutrients just because of pedogenesis process. So the increment of nutrient by the different procedures or methods, like the involvement of microbes, like the involvement of some other organic matter, this one is the process is known as the pedogenesis process. Or in a simple words you can say, to maintain the nutrients material in the soil is also known as the pedogenesis process. Here you can see like the soil formation also depends on the environmental conditions, like the geographical conditions, time and the microbes. So environmental conditions, they are the very much responsible for the soil formation. Geographical condition is also responsible for the soil formation, because they totally depends on what types of soil geographical conditions provide what types of soil you will get after the weathering process. Time is also responsible for the soil, because a soil cannot form it is easily, but it take time. Natural process take some times, because the natural process, in the natural process the rocks become degrade or they convert into the small particles. It takes some time, so time is also responsible factor for the soil formation. Again the microbes, the biological activity, here microbes are indicating they are the responsible to increase the soil nutrient or soil productivity. So the microbes, time, geography as well as the environmental conditions are the responsible for the soil formation. In next slide, here we will discuss on the soil composition. As I have already earlier said, the valuable part of the land is the soil, and soil is the composition of these things like water, air, minerals and the organic matter. So water, 25% is water is good for the soil, or it is mandatory for the soil. Air, 25% of the air is necessary or the mandatory. Then the rest 45% of minerals are, or 45% are minerals, they are present, which indicates the quality of soils, as well as the 5% of organic matter is also available in the soil. So in the organic matter you can see the organic matter is a composition of three things like the humus, roots and the organisms. Out of the 5% is organic matter, their composition is 80% of humus is available, and roots are 10%, and the presence of organism is about 10%. So these things create the 5% of organic matter, and these organic matter, minerals, air and water, which increase the soil productivity. So the important components of the soil is the water, air, minerals and the organic matter. Now in this slide, next slide, we will discuss on the soil horizon. If you cut a slice of a land, you can see just like this structure. Here you can see the topmost layer where the vegetation are present. This area is the upper part of soil where you can see the different variety of crops. Second one, the part is if you categorize this, so you can see here we can categorize like classified like O level. O means the organic level, A for surface, B for subsoil, C for substratum and R for bedrocks. So you can classify it horizontally the soil different segments. The O is the organic matter, this one is the humus layer. This one is look like as a dark brown in color, and this one is highly productive layer. And the soil fertility totally based on this organic matter or the humus layer also. And below this layer, the first layer is known as the A, which is known as the surface. It is partially brown in color, and this one is again second most productive layer, where you can see some roots, you can see some microbes, earth form also. This one is the second highly productive layer of this earth. Second and followed by A, surface segment, this one is a B, which is known as the subsoil. Subsoil is a light brown color, which indicate like the partially nutrients are present, in this layer, and that's why it is known as the subsoil. Here you can find some small debris also, and below this B segment, it is known as the substratum, it is known as the C segment, and C segment you can find some unweathered rocks or the partially unweathered rocks. Partially rocks you can find it. This one is a low productive layer as compared to A, B and O. And the last one in the bottom of this horizontal soil segment, you will get a hard rocks. These are the unweathered rocks. So if you go from R to O, so you can understand the soil formation. Like these bedrocks, they weathered and convert into the partially substratum area. Then again this C segment convert into B segment. This one is a little bit more productive layer. Again the presence of air, water and minerals is convert B into a surface. This one is more productive as compared to B, and after that the topmost layer, which is known as the O, organic matter, where you can find some good amount of moisture, well pH, microbes as well as some other minerals. So these are the segment is also indicating the formation of soil. So here with this figure you can easily understand the soil segments, different segments. Now in this next slide we will discuss on the soil particles. Here you can see the soil have different particles. First, the major components of the soil are the sand, silt and clay. These are the three main particles, and these particles have their own size, and on the basis of their size they indicate the quality of soil. Means they indicate the availability of water as well as the presence of air in this minerals in this soil. So here you can see like the sand. Generally soil is composed by the three different things like sand, silt and clay. Sand particles have their own size, and its size is vary between 0.05 millimeter to 2 millimeter diameter. So soil particle size. So and sand after the sand, the silt particles, they have own particles, and their particle size diameter is 0.002 to 0.05 millimeter diameter. And clay is another fine particles. They have own size of particles which indicate their size is less than 0.002 millimeter. So you can see the sand particle is very huge, and silt is middle level, and clay particle is very fine. So these three compositions it make the soil quality. Suppose if you introduce the clay particle in their composition, the composition of these three particles, sand, silt and clay, which indicate the soil quality, which also indicate the presence of soil as well as the air. So if these particles are good in percentage, so you can see like here, if you drop the water in the soil, this water can be enter into the soil through the high permeability. Or if you increase the silt and clay particle as compared to the sand, if you increase the clay particle in the soil, so the water cannot be enter into the soil, or the low permeability. So water logging situation can be shown through the rich amount of clay particle. When you find the rich amount of clay particle in the soil, so you can see the water logging process. If you get a good sand particle and the silt particle, obviously this soil is very good as compared to rich amount of clay particle soil. So I will not go through in detail in this soil and soil classification, but this one is a basic part of the land resource which indicate the value of soil. Now in this slide we will discuss on the land soil degradation causes. Here you can see the various causes are the responsible for the soil degradation or the land degradation. First one is the overgrazing process. Overgrazing process means when we introduce huge amount of land for the grazing purpose, for the cattle use, or the cattle generally use for large amount of area for the grazing purpose. So these area can be destroyed by their hoops also. The topmost layer they generally remove from the soil, and this one phenomena is the responsible for the soil degradation, and soil become land. If you remove the topmost layer of the land land of the soil, then the land become barren also. And in the cattle's their hooves, they remove the topmost layer from of the land. So overgrazing process is the responsible for the land degradation. Second one is the agriculture practices. Now the agriculture is a major theme to provide the food. But if we use the chemicals, harmful chemicals, and these chemicals they persist for the long time on soil or the land, so ultimately they decrease the soil quality also. So these chemicals are always responsible for the degradation of qualities. Sometimes we use the insecticides and the pesticides, and these chemicals they generally remove or destroy the topmost layer soil microbes. So these practices are also responsible for the soil degradation. That's why we are focusing on the organic farming. Because organic farming are the most responsible and good practices for the quality of food. Next one is the waterlogging. Waterlogging process indicate the rich amount of clay, the presence of rich amount of clay in the soil. If water is logged in particular area, obviously the soil, their pH can be changed and soil become useless or the little bit barren also. That's why we can say the waterlogging process is natural waterlogging process is also responsible for the soil degradation. Next one is the deforestation, because it is assumed that it is estimated that the forests are the responsible for the soil formation as well as to increase the soil quality or the soil nutrients. So if we cut the soil if we cut the forest, so definitely the soil productivity and the soil quality, they may affected. And it has been all reported that the forest is also bound the soils. The roots, the plant's tree root, they also bind the soil particles. So if we cut the forest area, so these particles, they may vanish from their land also, and soil become barren, land become barren also. So this one is the responsible cause of the soil degradation. Next one is the industrialization and the urbanization, because the population are increasing day by day, and to provide their basic needs, to fulfill their basic needs, we are increasing urbanization to provide their job also, as well as to we are increasing the urbanization process for their providing a good settlements and good habitat also. So these three things, we are, for to provide these things, we are acquiring a lot of land, and these lands through this process or the development process, we are vanishing the soil quality, we are degrading the soil by these activities also. We are cutting the forest, and when we cutting the forest, obviously the soil become barren also, and these barren lands are developing the concrete jungle in this area. So that's why the industrialization as well as the urbanization are the responsible for the land degradation. In addition, urbanization areas, when we produce the solid waste, these waste are also dumping in the open ground areas, as well as the industrial waste is also spread in the land areas. So these waste material, they also decline the quality of soil and degrading the land. Next one is the population, and population is the major responsible cause for the land as well as the soil degradation. Because to provide the basic amenities and fulfill their needs, we are consuming, we are acquiring the land, and that's why the land and soil, they are decreasing or degrading by day. Next one is the causes is a landslide area. The landslide area is also responsible for the land degradation. Actually, landslide process is you can say like the displacement of huge land mass is known as a landslide. So these if a huge landmass, they displace their original place, obviously it's indicate like the land is completely vanished or the destroyed. So landslide is the responsible for the land degradation causes. Cloud bursting and flood. During the flood and cloud bursting, first we have to understand the meaning of cloud bursting. The cloud bursting means the excess amount of rain in a particular time. So if a heavy rain, they may fall down in a short time or a small time, this one is known as the cloud bursting. And due to the cloud bursting, obviously this situation will also create a landslide phenomena, as well as they vanish the topmost layer from the hilly areas and degrade the land and soil. Similarly, the flood in plains areas are the responsible for the land and degradation. Flood is also responsible in land area for the land and soil degradation. In next slide, we will discuss on soil conservation practices. Now, what are the responsible causes, practices which are responsible for the soil conservation? So here you can see in this slide, like this one is the mulching method. So what is the meaning of this mulching? So here in this slide you can see like some litter material is spread on the agriculture field. This one is crop field, and some dry litter is spread on this field. So how it is work? Mulching method is functioning to for the conservation of soil particle. because the this mulching material, first this one is the responsible to maintain the soil moisture. If you maintain the soil moisture from the soil, obviously you can bind some particles of soil, first thing, and the moisture is also responsible to increase the microbes growth. So if moisture is available on soil, the microbes can grow easily and soil become productive. सिमिलरली दिस मल्चिंग मेथड क्या है, एक्चुअली इसमें एग्रीकल्चर क्रॉप लैंड में जो हमारे पास बिफोर सोइंग अ सीड, क्रॉप लैंड में हम जो है ड्राई लिटर को स्प्रेड कर देते हैं. और ड्राई लिटर से क्या होता है कि ये ड्राई लिटर एक तो हवा को रोकने का काम करता है, हवा की विंड वेलोसिटी को डाउन कर देता है. दूसरा, पानी से रन ऑफ से, पानी के रेन वाटर से जो बह करके सॉइल में निकल जाते हैं, जिसे आप वाटर सॉइल इरोजन थ्रू वाटर बोलते हैं, उसमें ये लिटर जो होता है सॉइल की मॉइस्चर को बॉन्ड करने का काम करता है. इसके अलावा जो सॉइल है उसको डायरेक्ट सनलाइट के कांटेक्ट में आने से उसको ड्राई होने से बचाता है. सो दीज आर द प्रैक्टिसेस, दिस वन इज कम्स अंडर द मल्चिंग मेथड, एंड दीज थिंग्स मल्चिंग इज ऑल्सो रिस्पॉन्सिव फॉर द सॉइल कंजर्वेशन. सो अब ऐसे मल्चिंग में क्या होता है कि जो ड्राई लिटर है, जब मॉइस्चर उसमें बढ़ता है या बारिश होती है, तो ये अगेन डिग्रेड होने के बाद सॉइल की प्रोडक्टिविटी को भी इंक्रीज करता है. सो मल्चिंग मेथड से क्या होता है, सीड की ग्रोथ होने के चांसेस ज़्यादा रहते हैं. सो इस नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में यू कैन सी हियर कुछ ऐसी प्रैक्टिसेस की जाती हैं, स्पेशली जहाँ बड़े फार्म लैंड्स होते हैं, वहाँ पे प्लास्टिक की शीट्स बना के ऐसे मल्चिंग जो है उसमें सीड्स को ग्रो करा देते हैं. तो जिससे सॉइल जो है डायरेक्ट सॉइल सन के कॉन्टेक्ट में आने से उसका ये ऑपरेशन रुक जाता है और सीड को जर्मिनेशन के लिए प्रॉपर मॉइस्चर मिल जाता है. और एक बार अगर प्लांट ग्रोथ कर जाए तो फिर सॉइल की बाउंडेशन, सॉइल को वो रूट्स जो है वो बाउंड करके रखती है, सॉइल इरोजन होने से रुक जाता है. सो दिस वन इज द सॉइल इज अ मल्चिंग मेथड विच आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द सॉइल कंजर्वेशन प्रैक्टिसेस. नाउ इन नेक्स्ट स्लाइड we can see like the agriculture practices. So to reduce the soil erosion through the wind and water, we can start different agriculture practices to reduce the soil erosion. Here in this slide you can see like this one is the multi-crop pattern. So multi-crop pattern, if you use multi-crop pattern in plain and hilly areas, so this one is very much responsible to reduce the soil erosion. So here you can see like first आपने वेजिटेबल्स को ग्रोथ कराया, देन फिर कुछ श्रब्स को आपने ग्रोथ कराया, फिर आपने फ्रूट्स के ट्री को ग्रोथ कराया, फिर आपने कुछ हर्ब्स को ग्रोथ कराया, राइस, एंड देन फिर ट्री आपने कराया, देन फिर आपने मेज कराया. सो दीज आर द मल्टी क्रॉप पैटर्न. आपने एक ही एग्रीकल्चर लैंड में मल्टी क्रॉप्स को यूज़ किया है. सो अलग अलग क्रॉप्स के पैटर्न लगाने से अलग अलग रूट्स का कम्बिनेशन रहता है जो सॉइल को बाउंड करता रहता है. एज वेल एज इनसे जो ड्राई लिटर होता है वो सॉइल की प्रोडक्टिविटी को मेंटेन रखता है. सिमिलरली इफ़ यू कल्टिवेट द हर्ब, श्रब्स एंड ट्री सिमिलर फॉर्मेशन, सो हियर यू कैन सी इन दिस स्लोप्स एरिया में. सो एक्चुअली जो विंड से इरोजन होता है सॉइल का, सो विंड को आप रोक नहीं सकते, है ना, विंड को आप कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते, नेचुरल विंड को आप कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. सो विंड की वेलोसिटी में अगर इफ़ यू क्रिएट सम ऑब्स्टिकल, तो यू कैन रिड्यूस द सॉइल इरोजन थ्रू द विंड्स. So in this process you have to start plantation like herbs, shrubs and tree. इस पैटर्न से अगर आप प्लांट्स को लगाते हैं तो जो हैवी विंड्स हैं उनमें ऑब्स्टिकल क्रिएट होती है एंड जो सॉइल है उसका इरोजन मिनिमाइज होता है. सो दिस वन इज द प्रैक्टिसेस, एग्रीकल्चर प्रैक्टिसेस. सेम हियर यू कैन सी लाइक द एक हिल एरियाज में जो कल्टीवेशन किया जाता है, एज एरिया में आप जो है आप ग्रासेस लगा देते हैं. एज के एरिया में जो किनारे के एरिया होते हैं हिल एरिया में, है ना, स्लोपी एरिया में आप जो है यहाँ पे मेन क्रॉप में आप मेन लैंड में आप क्रॉप कल्टीवेट करते हैं, देन एजेस में आप जो है ग्रासेस लगा देते हैं. तो ग्रासेस क्या है, सॉइल को बाउंड करने का काम करती हैं, है ना. इसमें एक नेपियर ग्रास है, दिस वन इज़ वेरी मच फेमस फॉर सॉइल इरोजन को रोकने के लिए यूज़ किया जाता है. इसके अलावा आपने देखा होगा मेज लगा देते हैं, का आपका मक्का जिसे बोलते हैं, मक्का का प्लांटेशन किया जाता है एज एरिया पे, टू रिड्यूस द सॉइल इरोजन थ्रू द वाटर एज वेल एज द wind. So these are the different practices method which are responsible to reduce the soil erosion. Now in addition there are some practices, some another issues which are responsible for the soil conservation. First one is the Afforestation. Afforestation means the plantation practices. So here in this picture you can see this area is completely harvested area. So if you get some harvested area and you can drop some plants here, or the afforestation practice you can start in this area, so definitely you can conserve and preserve the soil and soil particles also. Next one is the technical method which comes next one is the technical method which are responsible for the soil conservation. These are the check dams. So different types of check dams are responsible for the soil erosion. For example, in especially आपने देखा होगा नदियों के किनारे पत्थरों को बांध करके वायर के साथ रखे जाते हैं. So these are the check dams. Actually the objective of these check dams is to reduce the soil erosion. जैसे हैवी वाटर फ्लो होता है, सो दीज हैवी वाटर फ्लो दे कट द सॉइल, सो वाटर से सॉइल का इरोजन हो जाता है. टू यू कांट स्टॉप द फ्लो ऑफ रिवर, बट यू कैन रिड्यूस द फ्लो, यू कैन रिड्यूस द प्रेशर ऑफ वाटर फ्लो थ्रू दिस चेक डैम्स. सो इसलिए जिन एरिया में ज़्यादा रिवर एरिया में कट इंडिकेट होता है, कट दिखाई देता है, वो सॉइल इरोजन को इंडिकेट करता है. और ऐसे एरिया में काफ़ी सारे पत्थरों को बांध करके चेक डैम्स डिजाइन किए जाते हैं एंड दे कैन एस्टैब्लिश दिस एरिया एंड टू रिड्यूस द सॉइल इरोजन. सेकेंड वन, नेक्स्ट वन प्रैक्टिस इज अ क्रॉप रोटेशन. सो if you rotate the crop in agriculture fields, so these are the responsible for the soil conservation. It has been observed by the many agriculture scientists as well as different scientists. They have worked on the crop rotation are the responsible for the soil conservation practices. इसके अलावा next one is the checking shifting cultivation. So shifting cultivation is another issue which is responsible for the soil degradation. So we have to check some shifting cultivation process. However, this one is the traditional practices which is conducted by the tribal areas or the tribal persons, pupils also. So but if we aware and if we provide some other facilities to such pupils, so they can stop their shifting cultivation procedure, and this procedure is also helpful for the soil conservation, as well as to checking the overgrazing. The overgrazing is conducted by the one gujars also. So it is suggested to reduce the soil conservation. We have to aware the one gujars also. We have to provide some basic amenities, basic infrastructure to such pupils like the one gujars also, so that they can stop their overgrazing process. And the overgrazing process is also responsible for the forest degradation as well as the land resource degradation. In addition, the mining process is also responsible for the soil degradation, and other practices are also responsible. Here I have discussed only a few things which are the responsible for the soil degradation, land degradation, as well as some conservation methods also. Now thank you very much.